Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks, to join us in our wonderful today's discussion. Let's give one more minute because we have people, like trying to get in. So let's wait 1 minute and then we will start immediately. Okay. So let's see. Hope you are having a wonderful day. I'm looking forward for the weekend. Okay, so I think in my time, it's 1 minute past 3. Let's wait. And we will start immediately because we have a lot of things to talk about and not so much time to do so. Okay, fine. Let's start. Okay, welcome again, to all the audience, and thanks, to our panelists, to talk about, what we are named the title, How to Grow Your E-Commerce Business During Our Recession. Just 1 minute to present myself. I'm Maribel Hernandez, co-founder of the Amazing Agency. It's an Amazon-centric agency that helps brands scale, grow globally in Amazon all around the marketplaces, the Amazon is. We do have presence in Europe, in the US, and also in the Asia Pacific continent. We've helped for more than 100 brands with them, in Amazon all around the world. And we're really proud to have the badge of Amazon Advanced Partners. Okay, so we are really, really happy about it. Let's to say that we have more than 35 experts in our company. Amazon, as I said before, we only work for Amazon. And we can say with proud that globally, we have a 71% average annual growth with our clients. So after that, let's present our great panelists, that we have the privilege to have today. Very briefly, I'm gonna talk, you guys, and then we start, okay, with the questions and the debate. We do have Adam Wright. Adam Wright is the head of digital at Beiersdorf, a common well-known Nivea. That's the common brand for me. So he currently leads the team responsible for full funnel digital activity and growth across 7 countries for 2 of the largest skincare brands on the planet. That's Nivea and Nivea Men. He's passionate about tackling with big problems and building world-class data-driven teams to solve them. Hi, Adam. Thanks for sharing your time and knowledge with us. We are really keen to know your opinion on today's matter. Then we have Seb Bardin, head of e-commerce marketing at Unilever, digital marketing leader with over 15 years of experience in regional and global roles. He has collaborated with key stakeholders while managing agencies and inspiring high-performance teams to deliver and execute best-in-class data-driven marketing, digital and e-commerce strategies. He drives value for customers and grows the business using integrated, creativity-driven marketing initiatives, media efficiency, digital excellence, e-commerce, and marketing technology. Hi, Seb, and thanks too for being part of our panelists. Let's see what creative marketing initiatives you can share with us. And last but not least, we have the pleasure to be able to talk with Camila Lobo-Guerrero. She is a consulting director at the Quantic Group and former e-commerce director European of Edgewell Personal Care. She comes with more than 20 years of experience European experience in marketing and commercial roles. As European e-commerce director for Edgewell Personal Care, she developed and led the e-commerce strategy across Amazon, DTC platforms, and pure-play retailers for their branded and private label portfolio in Europe. Over the past 6 months, she has been working with the Quantic Group, advising global brands on e-commerce and digital strategy. Camila, thanks for your presence. Let's see when we can talk about retailers and their roles, in the situation we are suffering. So let's start with a very brief introduction of, what's happening right now, in order we can just start, with the questions and debating about the e-commerce situation. Overall, and this is very quick, we are suffering a big inflation that keeps on rising week per week. Additionally, in the UK, you need to add the pains of the pandemic and the Brexit stuff. So that, amidst a general climate of uncertainty. As a consequence, the British customer confidence is suffering. Salesforce says that it has suffered a decrease of 40%. So wow, I mean, this is something we'll have to look at it. More in depth in e-commerce, and now taking data, what Capgemini, says, we see a decline in both conversion-related metrics, such as checkout and payment, showing us we are now trying to gain a more cautious customer. And as traffic and conversion rates are going down, e-commerce revenues are falling even faster. So that's a consequence. So now let's go to the point, and we start with the debate. What I will do is I'm gonna ask you guys, 3 panelists, 2 questions, okay? You can interact between you guys and you can comment, and add wherever you want to. I think it's more like logical to do it that way. For the audience, you have down, of the platform, you have a space where you can just ask questions. So feel free to ask wherever you want. And if we've had time at the end of the session, let's see if we can answer, those questions that you may have, okay? So, okay, Adam, your turn. So this is the first question. As a specialist in growth hacking, can you give us some tricks or tips to grow for the uncertain months that are upcoming by minimizing efforts and investment? Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, nice, easy question to start off with. A big thank you from my side, by the way, for having me on. So, and hello to everyone who's listening today. I think so. Growth hacking as a term is one that I've dug into quite a lot, let's say, over the last few years, and we've got a growth team now at Bayersdorf, which I'd implemented a few years ago, and I think the term growth hacking implies probably negatively that there are a bunch of hacks or catch-all things that you can that will give you the standout wins, and I think probably the biggest thing that I've learned is that silver bullets often rarely exists. So I hate to disappoint anyone who's on the call who's hoping that I'm going to give them a playbook for it. But unfortunately, I think the companies that do have the standout successes, so the Amazons, the Facebooks, the Netflix of this world, I think all of them make hundreds of thousands of different experiments and ways to kind of test things a year. And realistically, it's those compounding wins that really move the needle. So I think my biggest kind of initial tip is that for any team to have a way to implement a process or a culture for experimentation. And this for me is probably the only real way that any of us are going to be able to navigate uncertainty as we go. And if we talk for Amazon for a second, Amazon have got some amazing suites of tools where you can A/B test anything from kind of headers to subject lines to PDPs, ways to kind of at the very push of a button to be able to find out one second to the next about what type of things those make. And I think if we've learned one thing from COVID, it's that predictions and expert views on things generally don't hold the weight of time. So it's one thing, I think, by having a kind of process to submit ideas, having a way to kind of test those and learn fast, I think that for me is the one true way to kind of navigate anything through uncertainty.
Okay. That's a good tip, Adam. Okay, let's go with the second one. You have been working in the beauty and personal care category for many years. It is a category in which brands have evolved a lot digitally and have entered the digital world very quickly and put a lot of effort and money in it. Many brands are already thinking about international expansion. So in your experience, would you recommend them to sell on marketplaces like Amazon, or continue with their own e-commerce website with the big investment, involved needed in order, to gain traffic, and start selling?
Again, another great question. I think so personally as a brand, we've seen a lot of success with Amazon, but I think that has to depend on the business and the shape that it's at the moment. So I think you kind of have to evaluate every channel on its own merit. You have to consider your own investment strategy, your resources, your kind of appetite for risk, etc. I think Amazon, it's probably a relatively safe way of gaining traction internationally. I mean, Amazon makes it very easy to sell internationally, but obviously when you come to scale, it comes with its own issues of maintenance, maintaining stock, languages, all of those things that happen when you scale internationally. So unless you've got a team who's able to do that, or a good agency who's able to kind of help you navigate that, then that's where the kind of issues I guess kind of come with that. I think for me, my first steps are always to kind of look at how business is growing at the moment, and always I personally like to kind of try and draw that out on paper. So look at the kind of different core channels and the growth loops that are contributing towards the way that you're growing your e-commerce business, and then kind of stress test that. So look at which ones of those are performing at the moment. Is that at the level you want to achieve? And is the trajectory of growth the kind of right way that the business wants to see that? So is it still growing fast? Is it slowing in certain areas? And I think from that, you can then understand, is it the right thing to move internationally? Is it the right thing to double down on the kind of growth that you're seeing at the moment and stay within market? And equally, I think if you're selling direct to consumer as well, if you're using a platform like Shopify, for instance, they're making that increasingly easier. I was just reading on the train this morning actually about them opening up the ability to say integrate customs and duty and excise into their platform and kind of open that up to brands. So I think that's a huge help for international expansion, and definitely will kind of lower the barrier to entry. But I know it's a long-winded answer, but Amazon definitely if you're kind of low risk. But yeah, D2C is becoming increasingly easy as well, I think.
Yeah, Marivia, I would say also that it's not always kind of a choice that the company will make themselves. Amazon is making the choice for you as well. So with these new markets that they have opened, like for example, Poland or Scandinavian things, they don't really ask the brands if they want to participate. They just go ahead and copy your products, and they source and everything their way without you getting involved. So they are removing a little bit of the power of the brand to decide where to play. They play. And it's up to you how you're going to catch up and how you manage to really be on top.
I think it's more about, having the keys, okay, of your brand, around the world, because as you say, Amazon opens the market, and it's like if you want to get control of it or not. I mean, from a point of view, from a client perspective, and that's something I can say because of the clients that we manage, that we've helped them, to start selling in one country and escalate to the other one. So that's something that we really do. It's like you have to analyze exactly, which country you want to start selling it, and analyze it, and don't start, don't try to do everything at the same time, but, have a good strategy with which products you want to go on with it. How much are you going to invest, and do it, in order and in a roadmap way, and don't try to do it, everything at the same time, because at that point, Amazon is not so easy. So, I mean, you have to have, a clear strategy and how to do each of the things, needed to gain success and the goals. So absolutely. And Camila, you're right. Amazon is not going to ask. So if Amazon is selling a product, for example, in Poland, it's because he knows there's a market over there. So won't ask you, he will just sell the product. So you have to take the keys of your brand and you have to control your brand. So that's something absolutely. And I think, Amazon is a reality. So let's play with him and not play against him. So that's the key. Okay. Okay, great. So thanks, Adam. Let's go with Seb. Okay, Seb, now this is your turn. Here's your first question. Considering the fact that the next few months will be complicated and difficult, and taking into account your extensive background in making the most out of marketing actions, what would be your recommendation to the audience regarding the marketing pillars to touch upon and implement during the period purging?
And that's a very good question, and thank you for asking. And I think for the way I'm looking at it, and I manage also to implement it across, at Sony, but also across Unilever, and it's more, to look at close collaboration internally. So, what is your structure? So sometimes you have a sales team that is sitting at a different place. You have a marketing team that is looking after the top of the funnel, and sometimes you have a performance team, whether it's with sales or with marketing. And I think the best way, to approach this is to maximize, the overall marketing investment. So how can you, as a performance marketing, driving your media on Amazon, for instance, can piggyback on the brand activity. So anything around, from data collection, and then deploying it on those channels. Again, Amazon has a great capability of, custom audience where you can, if you can ingest your first party data, whether it's cookie, whether it's PII. So how, from an integrated approach to look at it and to maximize, what we do on both sides of a funnel, so top side of a funnel and bottom side of a funnel. And definitely, we've managed to see, some double-digit growth in terms of ROAS and in terms of sales by just using our first-party data. So the usage of, what you own, is key, but also something that, again, I've seen and again try to influence in some ways is also about this relationship between marketing and the retail team. So, have a clear visibility in terms of, what product has been launched, what are the sales targets, and then what can we do to support those sales targets. So sometimes, there's no conversation happening between those teams, but definitely, having alignment between, internally between the different teams, also externally with your agencies, with also your retail agency, and making everyone, to sit at the same table and talk together and define, how can we achieve those sales targets for the year.
Yeah, that's something difficult. It sounds easy, but it's really difficult, to try to, to work, all aligned. It's quite difficult. Also, if you are part of a very huge company, that, everyone is like in his whole staff, and it's really difficult, to organize, and to be collaborative, between departments. So I totally understand that. Okay, fine. Okay, we go with the second one. Okay, the market tendency for larger companies such as Unilever is to try and manage all the marketing activities in-house by creating, specific departments with specialized teams to manage services that have been outsourced to agencies over the years. Talking about social media, management, advertising, CEOs. And what are your thoughts on the whole in-house versus outsourcing concept, considering that each e-commerce channel has to be treated like mini business itself? So for example, selling on your own website, that website, it's completely different selling in Amazon. So what do you think about that?
So that's a very good one as well. I think I've got the opportunity to see different models throughout my career, and I think I think the best time, but I think we got it right. It was more to have. I don't believe, first of all, about the full in-house model. Again, is it's still quite a big investment at the start, and I think the time you start to to break even, you still need it's like a long period, but also it's about having the right expertise, people turn around as well. So I guess, there's quite a lot of human element as part of it, of managing an extensive team. And I think the best time that I think we got it right, it was at Sony, where we decided to have more an hybrid type of approach where we will still rely on our agencies, but act as an internal agency to our European markets. So that helped. I wouldn't say that it's a good way to make savings, but what it does, it's more having one center that does everything for the market. So free up times for the local teams, having one center point of conversation with the big retailers like Amazon, like the Carphone Warehouse, the Vodafones, and so on. So you talk to the global team rather than talking and getting deals with the local team. So that facilitates more this kind of joint business plan together with your retailers. And I think, at the end of the day, also what can help as well is the tech stack that you have in place. So how can you, as a central team, support all of these local markets with, powered by data, powered by full visibility. So again, we have some very good players out there like, Sky Kanchu or PackView. So having this type of solution on the top really help in terms of driving this efficiency, but also improving those ways of working between all the different parties, different markets as well. But yeah, I think, while, I would say probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was a big believer in full in-housing, but again, as you say, as part of the question, the environment is getting very complex. The way consumer will behave on Amazon will be different way they will behave, let's say, on Ocado, on Bold.com. So I think, it's about having the right portfolio on those channels. And also, we're also going into some kind of walled garden with retail media. Each of them will have a different solution. Yes, you can talk about the Criteos, the Citrus, and so on, but still, it will be, it's getting more and more complex, the retail media environment.
It's becoming huge. Adam, Camilla, did you want to say something regarding this? Because I think basically this is something that has been, let's say, in debate for the last couple of
it's very interesting
years.
And it's great to have Seb's view, because everybody a lot of CPG companies envy Unilever kind of in-house approach, because they have a lot of resources and they have all this and that. But the reality is that it's not always that easy either when you have it in-house. And now that I have the benefit of being part of the industry and now being part of an agency, I can see the beauty of both sides. And I just think that the hybrid method works because the agency has a role to play by bringing fresh ideas and also being able to ask questions that sometimes internally you cannot ask, or being able to really build from what they can see that is happening in different environments. And when if you become really insulated and everything is in-house, it's just one way of doing things and you kind of lose what's going on everywhere else. So I think there's a value for the agencies, but also there is an important thing is the role of the agency is more like a partner. It should not be really like the traditional way that we use agencies in the past. They have to become really kind of partners and help to upskill the team internally as well. So the more people, and I'm a really big advocate of democratizing e-commerce, because I think many years ago that people were, the few that were working on e-commerce kind of kept it secret because they didn't want really a lot of people to know how it works, or they didn't even understand it themselves. I really believe that the more people understand internally and externally, the more we can communicate and grow. So I'm definitely a believer that you need both things.
And also just to build on that one as well is something that, work really well is, again, if you have, the right agency in place is, you can get a secondment from someone that you think is amazing at this agency, and then that can, do the same work, next to your desk, for 1 year, 1.5 years. And sometimes, the agencies I've been working with, were quite happy with this type of secondment of approach, because it's a good rotation, great experience for the candidate, and also, if they have
it's good for both sides, because the agency also gets internal industrial experience. I have used agencies to help me upskill my previous team as well, to place them for a few weeks in their agency so they can see how they work as well, because the more we understand how agencies make the money and how the clients make the money, it's a better thing. So there's enough for everybody. We just need to
it's a partnership, to be honest. Like if client, reaches the goal, the advertising, it's great. So if they don't reach the goal, you're off. So it's like, what's the point? The key things that you are saying, it's like, okay, it's great because you have to really, work as partnership. And if you work as a partnership and you have, like an internal team in the client, that really knows the business, knows the products and everything, and has clear goals on it, and has an agency that really understands you, absolutely, that's the way it should be.
I think the only build I'd have, because we've like every big business, the insourcing outsourcing debate is raging. I think trying to hire the right people into a business where they might be the only one in a company or the only one in a certain market to do that, you have to have a real mind that that's going to be a core competency that you're going to need for years, and look at how you're going to build that team around them, because otherwise either their growth slows because all they're doing is educating the rest of the business, or you just can't hire in the right kind of quality of people to do that. So I think that for me is the kind of big learning, especially versus going to an agency, because that the growth that they get and the kind of talent pool that they get there is generally much better than we would be able to kind of bring in ourselves, even with the big brand names.
Yeah, because I mean, you keep focus on what you're looking for. We only work for Amazon, so absolutely we are up to date and everything. And from the internal side, there's a lot of other things, under your roles and your day-to-day. And it's very difficult to be up to date, in every single thing. For example, Amazon launches things every 2 weeks. So how are you going to do it? So that's something really important. Okay, great. Camila, your turn. First one, return policies, customer experience, margins, marketing, promotional activities to generate traffic. Oh my God, those are really important aspects that an e-commerce business needs to control and plan in order to succeed. So considering the future market predictions, which do you think are the most important ones we need to revise, track, and take daily control and create a specific plan of action? Seeing the situation we are just right now.
It's big questions, like many questions.
Yeah, I know.
But I think that I will say that all of them are important because all of those things form part of a good customer experience. So if you fail in any of them, the experience is not good. So then there's not going to be a repeat purchase and you might have bad reviews as well. So you have to have really everything kind of under control. What I say that is more important is to understand what's happening at the moment. So we have kind of three things going on. One of them is that margins are getting reduced for multiple reasons. We also have advertising cost increasing, again, for different reasons, but also because of the change in legislation and the change of technology and things. And we have also customers becoming more skeptical. So what I would say is that in order to address this, you need to really kind of have a view on how you address the three things that are going on. So if you look into margins are getting reduced, what can you do? Well, you need to really, and here is where our expertise with Amazon is great because we don't see brands as a whole. We see it as a SKU. So we look product by product. You need every product that you have listed, say in Amazon or in your direct to consumer or in your retail and things, have to have a merit on its own. So you need to see if they are profitable. I mean, the margin makes sense for you first, because otherwise what's the point of selling a lot of something that you don't make money? Yeah? So you need to ensure that you have good profitability on those things. And also you need to evaluate if, for example, a product has good conversion, but doesn't have a good margin. What can you do to make that product well, to have a better margin? Is it that you need to have bundles or you need to have bigger packs, or what can you do to increase the margin? Or if you have great margin but low conversion, so also what's going on? I mean, do you need to improve your listing? Do you need more reviews? Do you need to add videos? All the things that can complement to make people discover your product and enhance the conversion. So you need definitely to work on understanding the profitability of your product and how can you make that work better. There's on the second part, that is the advertising cost rising. Well, here I think for all of us working in e-commerce, we had kind of joyful years with the lockdowns and things. The growth was great, but also we probably got a little bit too many things that we might not need anymore. So we need to start cutting the fat on all the things, like trimming all the apps that we bought that we might not need anymore, all the widgets that at that time make sense, but now that don't make sense. So you look into return on investment of everything you have and make your marketing costs as low as possible, and then invest in the products that you have good margin. So that way you can really, would never advocate to cut a marketing budget. That would be a big mistake, and that's what tends to happen a lot in this time. But that is the opportunity for the smaller brands, because big brands cut their budgets because they get panic. Smaller brands thrive because they take advantage of the other guys not looking at the right place. So yeah, that's that point. And then you use all the opportunities, no, retargeting, ensure you have a top of the funnel strategy. And I would say segmentation becomes super important, because then you can really put the money where it makes sense. And the last point, that is the customers becoming more skeptical. Well, here we need to help consumers, because e-commerce is not new anymore. I mean, it's part of shopping. People shop. They don't care where they shop. Sometimes they don't even think that you're shopping online. It just becomes so much part of what we do. So we need to reassure them, having all the right information, the reviews and things to help them. So you ask me which one is more important. I mean, they are all important.
All of them. It's like the mix, like,
Exactly.
yeah, to find the correct balance. Also here, like taking into account all the data, that you can have, from the traffic and other stuff. I think it's crucial, to analyze in order to take decisions. As you said, perhaps there's a product, that has big profitability or revenue, but it's not, having, the enough visits or whatever. Take the data and try to find out the way that you can make it profitable. So I think, data and analyzing things, like in a daily basis is really good in order, to take decisions, and don't be skeptical trying to think, okay, this is going to work, this is not going to work. Take the data, analyze it, and take the decisions based on it. So
Yeah.
as an example, Amazon is a big amount of data. You can have tons and tons and tons of data. So just take advantage of that, analyze it, and take the decisions based on that. Okay.
But
And
it
also,
yeah.
regarding the cost, the creation of the products, logistics, I mean, this has been, like a completely nightmare over the 6 months plus, the years. So there are a lot of brands in panic because of that. So that's something, that you also have to take into account, regarding the margins and everything.
Yeah, and I wanted to add also that it can be a little bit overwhelming for when you're working on e-commerce, and regardless if you are just focused on Amazon or focus on DTC,
Yeah.
or when you're focusing on more than that.
Yeah.
There's so many, I mean, everything is important. You let one drop and then you have consequences and people complaining, or issues with the delivery, issues with the customer service and things. I think that one way I tried to do it when I was dealing with all these different challenges is, remember, just keep it practical. I mean, we are consumers ourselves. We tend to buy ourselves as well. So what are the things that you enjoy or not enjoy when you're on your own journeys of shopping? And try to really remember that your brand needs that kind of special
you're right.
care.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Adam said, do you want to say something? I thought, that you would just wanted to say something. If you don't want, I can just go with the next one.
I think the only thing I'd add, because I think I talked on an important point at the start. I think when we start to think about Amazon, you might just immediately jump into media or something to kind of push traffic, but actually the kind of retail element of Amazon is as important, if not more important, and getting that bit right and getting your listings right and getting kind of the whole setup right there, it can make as big a difference. And then only then do you kind of turn media on. But I think the kind of prioritizing, as you said, that the SKUs that are going to make the biggest difference, and really focusing into that, and then using that as kind of your beachhead to get everything else working. That's where we've seen the biggest success. So I just wanted to labor that point, because I think it's a really important one for everyone listening.
Yeah, it's really important, because Amazon is the most important and influent catalog, so you have to have, the products absolutely perfect over there. Okay, next question, Camila. The importance of marketplaces is increasing over the past few years. We do have the generic ones, like Alibaba, and Amazon, but there are some category ones, such as Decathlon or Zalando, ASOS, for wardrobe or whatever. What do you think about selling on them? And how should brands work with these new e-retailers?
Well, it's becoming like a big trend, no? Like everybody wants to have their own marketplace. So it's like marketplace galore. And I just think that it's very easy to feel like the temptation to want to be in all of them. And you have like a marketplace FOMO, no? You really don't want to miss out, just in case it is the right one to be. But I mean, we've been there, and I think that they all look similar, but the reality is that they are not similar. Yeah, the only thing they have in common is that it's a marketplace, so there are other brands participating, and everybody kind of own their own journey there, but they are very different. The ones of us who have played in Amazon and eBay, for example, it's a completely different thing. I mean, the skills you need for one don't translate into the other one. You need different skills. So I will say that if you're going to jump and participate in them, I would like you to consider a few things that in my experience were quite a big learning for us. One of them is that they are great traffic generators. So it's great to be part of the marketplaces, because they make the hard part of acquiring people easier. Yeah, but once you're there, you need to stand out, and you need to do all the heavy work of having the right listings, the right images. You have to have bespoke content, because it's not just a copy and paste of what you have in Amazon. You have to tailor for that thing. It is very difficult if you don't have a system to syndicate content. to try to do this on a manual base is really crazy, and it doesn't work. It works when you upload it the first time, but try to change. So I think about like the food manufacturers that have to change a lot of the oil and different things now. Goodness, if you don't have a PIM or something in place, good luck, because it's really, really difficult to do it. So you need to ensure that if you're going to participate in this place, you have enough bandwidth to update the listings, to optimize them, and also to ensure that they have reviews, basically to keep them kind of the right place. Then the second thing you need to do is you need to pay to play in these places. So not only you pay a fee when you sell, but you need to stand out and you need to do advertising. And a lot of the times, companies want us to participate in more marketplaces, but they don't increase the budget. So you basically are feeding more people with the same money, and it becomes, it dilutes the whole presence that you can have online. So that's another consideration. Not only that, you will also need to tailor your assets for that particular marketplace. So sometimes, again, it's not the same dimensions and things, so you need to invest on that, or have someone in-house who can do that and queue to get their attention to do it on time and stuff. Then you need to, we talk about, you need a specialized knowledge, but also you get a lot of new data. So more data brings more kind of responsibility. You better use that data you're generating, but who's going to look at the data when you hardly can cope with updating the listing? So it's like, what do you do there? And then to play in some of these places, you need to have customer service, and you need to have someone who can answer the phone. They penalize you if you don't respond straight away. So you are not only dealing with people leaving reviews on your product, but people also complaining as a seller that you're not the right seller. So it creates a lot of pressure for companies or for brands. And you also need to, sorry, my notes here, to ensure that you don't get out of stock. Because again, all the effort of having everything done perfectly before, you get out of stock, and it's like going back to square one because you lose your momentum and your kind of, the flywheel. So saying that, I'm not discouraging everybody to participate, but it's just to not go and not try to chew more than you can eat, really. It's very tempting to want to be everywhere. And I was in that place, I wanted to be everywhere. And when you realize effort is, sometimes it doesn't even pay back, really. There are places that you will say, well, you know what, let's wait to see if it grows, or I don't need to be there. There's another way to do it that is not doing it directly. So you can do it directly if you have a whole ecosystem set up. You have your direct to consumer, you have your customer service, fulfillment, and so on. If you don't have that, you can participate in those marketplaces with a trusted distributor who knows the rules to play in those places and who can represent you. But you work again on I'm a big favor of partnerships. You can help them to grow, and they do that work for you because they have the right skills and the right setup that you don't have. So there are considerations. If you go ahead and do it directly, particularly, for example, with Zalando and the other ones that are across Europe, my advice would be try to negotiate in the country where the head office is and do a one negotiation for the whole Europe. Otherwise, you will end having a lot of other problems later on with pricing and cross-sourcing and more challenging.
Go ahead with a pan-European agreement, okay?
So Zalando
try to save,
with I don't know, Sephora in Paris, with Notino in the Czech Republic, or whoever. Yeah. But it is easy to do it once, and then you don't get into more.
Yeah, because the more people get involved, big mess. A lot of interlocution, everyone, saying something different could be, like a big nightmare. Okay, Adam said, do you want to say something about this or okay, I totally agree with you, Camila. Okay, so there's a lot of e-retailers, new ones, from verticals and everything. This is more about the matter of your strategy as a company, like saying, okay, fine. Do I have the resources? Do I have the amount of money? Or shall I do it, like step by step? Why not? But yeah, I mean, to use the same thing, for all the retailers, it's not gonna work. Not gonna work. Okay, for sure. Okay, okay, so let's step with the second, let's say like the section. This is gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna launch, quick questions, and I want you guys to tell me if you agree or not agree, and with a quick sentence, tell me why you decide you agree or not agree, okay? And this time we're gonna start with you, Camila. Okay, so, okay, this is the first one. in this coming crisis, is it better to open new lines of business or not?
No, I will say focus.
Why?
Sorry. Well, because it's like they say, I mean, it's better to really improve what you have than trying to start from zero in another place, because it really distracts you. You get diluted your attention to too many different things, and you don't know what you're opening. I mean, you might be opening a big box of surprises. Otherwise, if you focus on, say, for example, if you have already Amazon established business or a direct to consumer or both, focus on those ones, and there's enough to always improve them and to make more of them. So you can do a better analysis of your data. You can do, you can make them work. Find the if you segment it properly in each of these in each of these markets, and you find your lovers, try to find more of them. Yeah, instead of trying to go and try to put yourself into another place and start again. So I will say focus.
Okay, Adam, what do you think?
I completely agree. So I think the new is exciting, right? I think the new is the bit that everybody is like, oh, let's go and open something new, and new business is kind of the best place to be. But I think, to be honest, it's still a known, right? So I think if you can grow with your current portfolio and you can innovate in other ways than launching new lines of business or new products or things like that, typically, especially when we're coming into a crisis, you're much better with the kind of the depot that you know, and kind of eking value out of the channels and the lines that you've already got. So yeah, I would very much side with Camilla, who put it far more eloquently than I did.
And Seb?
To be fair, I think that's an opportunity to look at new, I wouldn't say new products, but more new packaging, new formats that can be can drive, let's say, savings for the consumers. So again, are we talking about, a 100 washing capsules versus 50 washing capsules, but in a smaller pack, or so where can you down the production line made some savings that you can give it to the consumer? So moving away from plastic to cardboard, so I think Amazon can give us an opportunity to just go through an MVP period of 90 days, understanding what is the appetite for this product without going through a typical market research type of approach, where you're able to be in a live environment, and then, okay, if it's working, let's turn the production and go full engine. But I think what I agree, it's more, it has to be under the right brand that already has a right level of brand awareness, brand preference as well in the market. So it's not reinventing the wheel, it's more finding new ways where we can make some savings with existing products.
Adapt to the situation, basically, Yeah. Okay, great. The second one. This is something, there are a lot of big clients, are thinking about. So I think that if we have, big clients in the audience, they're going to really, this question. Should brands reduce their investment and efforts to create brand awareness or not? Okay. Seb, go ahead.
Again, I think there's a lot of research out there, from Lesbinet and Field, that says that the importance of the long-term brand building versus short-term approach. So again, is the data are out there. So again, but the difference is now when you are in the room with a finance team as well. So this is how can argue that you will need money. But I think especially in those times where people might be seeking for value product, white label type of product, this is you still need to stand out, get this visibility, and then from a performance point of view, okay, let's piggyback on this investment and then drive conversion. But it is a danger to cut your investment into the brand side. And I think we just need to look at history, look at those who survived the internet boom at this crash at the start of the year 2000. These are the brands that invested into TV, into out of home.
Absolutely. Adam and Camila are nodding, so I guess probably you guys agree.
I think recessions are very interesting because a lot of brands really thrive through a recession, and some of them don't survive. So it's tricky because yes, the finance guys would like to cut the budget because that's the only way to kind of massage the numbers and to make them look good. But this is the opportunity for the newer brands or the more agile brands to really pick up and win. And there has been a lot of historical cases where that happened, that the big guys get distracted with internal budget arrangements and trying to make the numbers look good. And new brands start picking up, people try them, and they actually discover that, why do I need so many other kind of over-spec products? I don't need them anymore. My consumer perception of values change. And then after the recession, well, people have already tried something, they like it. Yeah. Why would I come back to the premium brand? Yeah. So I think it's a big risk not to invest.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I'd agree. I think I think rather than reducing investment, you probably change your investment mix. So you focus potentially on areas that do kind of eke out the value. So a bit like Camilla was saying. So if you think of kind of our brand portfolio, we have things like Nivea Soft, for instance, which is a staple in most households. People might downgrade from a luxury part of the portfolio down into something like that. And I think, you know, everyone sat on this call has had the luxury of working with brands where you can play a portfolio like that and are able to kind of move people or that value perception slightly differently during times like this. So I would say definitely not reducing it, but 100% looking at the kind of mix and the messaging and the way that you play your kind of brand awareness, I think is super important in the time.
Yeah, and that drastic changes, I mean, don't have to be taken, you know, like in any situation itself. Okay, this is a tough one. In the face of rising costs, is it better to raise prices or sacrifice margin? Adam, go ahead.
So I think you have to look after your business, right? So I think there's no telling when or if costs will come down again. I mean, we've all talked about rising cost pressures on businesses, and there's no saying whether whether the kind of global turmoil and everything that's happening at the moment, whether that's ever going to reset and everything's going to kind of come back to the levels that we were before. So I think you have to take everything as by merit on itself. So I think you have to look after your own business in the short term, if that means raising prices or if that means sticking it out for a period of time and making the most of sales during that period as well, because all your competitors are moving. I think you have to kind of play each of those on merit. So it is a very tough one, and luckily I'm not in the role that makes the calls on those types of things, because I would lose sleepless nights a lot of the time over it. But I think there's I think for me, if I was to gut feel, I'd always say, you know, raising prices to look after your core business and sticking it in the short term. But I would hesitant to make the call on it myself.
Okay, Camilla, what do you think?
It's very hard to comment on those ones, because really there are reasons why you need to increase the prices. It's not easy to increase the price. It's not easy for the retailers to accept it either. But we are here to survive. I mean, if at the end you need to be fair. It's just when it becomes a little bit of abusive from either part. But I can't really comment what is the right thing to do. It depends on every product, the reasons why you're increasing the prices or the.
Okay, and Seb.
Likewise, it's a bit a tricky one for me to comment on that one, but again, it's more like what would be the objectives of our retail team versus the overall growth objective of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, regarding Amazon, do you think Amazon advertising is going to be a serious rival to Google and Facebook?
It really is.
I think. This is not like it's going to be. It really is.
Already is.
Yeah, we're in that situation itself. Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people were surprised when they started releasing revenue numbers. Was it last year or the year before? And it felt like for a lot of businesses, especially the kind of Googles of this world, they kind of crept up on them. But suddenly there were £30 billion behemoth, which nobody, I think, realized the kind of scale of Amazon really at that point. So yeah, I'd agree. I think they're already there, but it's and will likely be bigger in the coming years. You know, they are growing at that sort of rate. So very interesting times to come.
Yeah, and Amazon, the Amazon media ecosystem is getting higher, every day. So it's like, it's not a media.
Yeah.
So you have to take into account with them. So this is not like it's going to be, it's reality. It is.
And
Yeah.
I think you can expect that there are going to be new ways of new models and new things, and like with the brand stores, for example, they will find ways to make them profitable for them. And there's a lot of different ways for them to carry on bringing the stick higher and higher, which make it really hard for the brands, because playing in Amazon is becoming really unprofitable in many cases. When you add it all together, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of changes and resets and things of the value of advertising, or how to put it.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting one, because again, we can see that they're moving more into the entertainment space. When I was still at Sony, when they bought MGM Studio from Sony, and then they are going on into to create more original content, and Twitch, with
Wow.
and also now we're talking about the metaverse as well. So they definitely these are the platform, but I guess it's more the data that they now have against their consumers, but also people that are buying on Amazon. So again, it's more like this integrated ecosystem. That it will be again interesting, I guess, as a brand point of view, is how are you negotiating with Amazon when it comes to joint business plan? So do you need to also integrate top of the funnel activities as well as any conversion media on Amazon? So that will be something, I guess, that brands needs to think more about finally having a end-to-end integrated approach with them. Because still, I've been speaking with some peers, when you talk about awareness on Amazon, a lot of other marketers will think, oh, it's just just on Amazon to drive sales. But again, it's, I think now we are trying to move away from this, but with English Premier League, NFL, so we can cover more people than just our buyers.
Yeah, and also, the media consuming behavior of the people of the other generations, has changed a lot. So I think Amazon is just touching, the points in order to reach, these new targets, these customers. And I think they are really doing it fine with the Twitch stuff, buying, usage rights of sports activities through Prime Video, all the stuff. I mean, I think they're in the right way. Okay, so it's good. Okay, fine. So we only have 8 minutes left, and we have some questions here. So I'm gonna ask you if you can just answer me. Okay, this is the first one. How do brands combat with increasing CPCs for sponsor ads on Amazon, especially on events, Black Friday, Prime Day, especially when demand is going down for consumer electronic goods and every brand in this industry is being offensive to be visible and then capture every shopper's attention and thus convert? Wow, I think it's very complex. What I understand is about, like taking into account that during the events, if you are in an electronic category, how did you battle, this increase in CPCs? Okay, that's in sponsor ads. So I think that's the question itself. Do you guys want to answer? This is open free, so if just anyone can answer that. Okay, I can answer that.
Well, I would say that one way to do it is don't try to be on the main day, but the days before. So you position your brand, because it's all about the flywheel and how like your product is kind of top of mind for the algorithm. So the days before still have a lot of traffic. Probably is a little bit cheaper than the day itself. So I would say try that. There's a lot of and sometimes I think brands, we over subsidize the sale because the traffic is there anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and it's I think it's like always to focus yourself on the products that really need to push. Don't try to be contaminated, let's say, with your competitors that they are paying huge CPCs, okay, in order to gain the bid. Just have your own strategy, and as Camila said, okay, there's a lead up phase, so just understand the event, not like the day of the event, but a whole event that covers a lot of days, because traffic gains the days before and everything. So why don't catch the customer over there? So I think that's another thing. Yeah.
And also, the big question as well is, is it worth it, again, based on...
Yeah. And also, regarding the money you have, the budget. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Okay, here we have another one. Do you have the same plan for all countries in Europe, or do individual countries have different plans? I think it's more about, I think, that Camila, you talked about this before, or I think Camila or Adam, saying that, in each country you have to prepare, everything, like in a certain way adapted to the country itself. Yeah, I think it's more about this.
You do have to adapt a lot because of the particularities. Sometimes you don't even have the same product lines, but I don't know, it could be Easter in some countries is a lot bigger than in others, and you have different type of events. You do need to adapt the plan. But saying that, you can have like a core plan that can be across Europe with and then tailor. For example, Father's Day is not in the same day.
Yeah.
In Germany, in France, in Spain, here it's all different days. So you have to kind of tailor for the market.
Yeah.
However, you can have the same kind of activity in every market when Father's Day takes place.
Yeah, and also, like people look differently, and search different in a different way. Like you're German, Spanish, or wherever, we have, like our own way. So you have to adapt yourself to the country you are selling in. Absolutely.
And also something also to consider is like the CPC and the CPMs are different by countries. So for the likes of Germany and France and the UK, for instance, they are usually higher than Italy and Spain. So, but again, this is, at Sony, this is how we managed to take advantage of, for instance, the like of Italy, where we were paying a very low CPM. So we were looking at, double-digit ROAS in this case.
Yeah.
More, how can you, one, be flexible to move money across markets and work with an agency or an internal library team where you're able to buy media across all those markets as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have two more questions and then we finish. This is an easy one, a short one. What do you think the position of classified marketplaces is in modern day e-commerce? I think this is more for Camila.
I'm not too sure if I understand classified marketplaces.
I don't know. I think it's more like, I think that classified marketplace, it means like specific, like what I would specific retailers. That's what I understand. I don't know if you guys understand the same as I understand.
I don't really recognize the classified marketplaces, but what do I think about marketplaces in modern day e-commerce? I think that there is a reason for them. And I also think that we need to be mindful of not putting all the eggs in the same basket. And Amazon, yes, is big and is growing and it will continue growing, but other places might be also appropriate for your product. So it depends on what product you have, but there are some verticals that you might be better off being part of that.
Okay. And then we have a last question here. I mean, the last question, because we don't have much more time left. There are other ones. They say that we have talked a lot about brands and products. What are your observations on how to grow a consumer service? For example, leisure in these turbulent times. Now, this is a tricky one. Okay, so I understand that.
I will say that the same principles apply. I mean, segmentation, for example, if you understand who are your best clients, try to get more of them. And there's a lot of things you can do that are similar instead of product service that you potentially can apply.
Yeah.
It's also about carrying on the experience after the sales. So again, is now you have much more opportunity to re-engage with a product via QR codes, and keep, maybe driving subscribe and save as well. But definitely, content can play an important part on a different platform where you can carry on this experience to enhance this consumer engagement.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of now focus more on loyalty, on how you're gonna kind of keep your customers coming back for a product or for a service. How do you invest in those loyalty programs or in that kind of strategy? Because
it's always said it's more expensive to gain a new customer than, like getting loyal, to the one you already have. So I'm totally agree with you. Okay, so it's time. we finish the debate. Thanks, Camilla. Thanks, Seb. Thanks, Adam. It has been great, discussing this with you. Thanks to all the audience for being part of our roundtable. And okay, just okay, we will go ahead, and we will make new roundtables. So okay, so fine. Have a nice day. A pleasure having you guys. And okay, we keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camilla,
Thank
Seb,
you.
Adam. Thanks to the audience. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.